Hello, welcome back. It feels like it's been quite a while since I sat down to film a video like this, and the video I'm filming today feels quite surreal, and I can't quite believe I'm saying this, but I wrote a book and it's available for pre-order now. It's called How to Do Life with a Chronic Illness. It's published by JKP and the release date is the 18th of April 2024, but you can pre-order it right now, right this second, and all the links that you need are down below. This is something that's been in the works for almost 2 years actually, and over that time I thought I'll film some clips here and there of what's going on in the hope of putting them together in a video like this, because I know that book publishing is something that a lot of people are interested in, and there's the chronic illness slant in this occasion as well. So yes, it might not be everybody's cup of tea, but I thought I'd share what I can, from the commissioning process to the writing to the production process, what happens after you submit your final manuscript, and everything that's brought me to this point right now basically. If we haven't met before, just to give you a brief bit of background about me, my name is Pippa Stacey, I'm based in Yorkshire, I'm a writer, a speaker and a communication consultant, and I have a chronic illness called ME. I've had that diagnosis for nearly 10 years, but I've lived with the condition for much longer, and I've had bad periods of health and I've had better periods of health, and I'm very thankful that for the past few years I've been in a much better period of health. This was a book I always wanted to write, and it's non-fiction, and I think the premise for it kind of came about because when you're diagnosed with a chronic illness, there's only so much help that you get from medical professionals, and of that help most of it is focused on the physical aspects of chronic illness, so things like symptom management, medication, potential treatment options if there are any, and all of those things are really, really important, and goodness knows we need more of them. But when there's only so much you can do to help yourself, I remember thinking really clearly, well, what about the rest of life? How do I do life now that this is my reality? Because nobody really teaches you the things about like rediscovering your identity and recalibrating as a disabled person. How do you manage your friendships? What are accessible ways of socialising? Can I even have a dating life? How to adopt your hobbies and interests, how to set realistic goals for the future and think about what you really want out of life. All of these questions I had, and over the last decade I've basically been figuring out the answers for myself. So I thought I'd take all of that knowledge from my lived experiences and also from the experiences of diverse contributors and put it all into a book which I hope will become sort of a one-stop guide for someone who's newly diagnosed with chronic illness, or perhaps looking for support and advice on adjusting to the broader things in life and just establishing a life that really feels like yours, even though you're going through this really life-altering thing. But yeah, that was a very brief overview. Like I said, there's pre-order links down below. This is the biggest dream come true. So let me take you back to 2022 and we will start going through that process and how this all happened. Just while I remember, I want to make it really clear that I'm only speaking about my own experiences. I know that everybody has their own stories with writing and publishing, especially disabled and chronically ill people. But I can't speak on behalf of other people, so like with everything on this channel, the experiences I'm sharing are purely my own. So the day is the 12th of July 2022, I'm sat at my desk doing my work as usual, and I see an email pop into my inbox, and the subject line of this email reads, "Message from Jessica Kingley, publisher." So immediately I stop everything, I think, oh my goodness, what on earth is this? That message was from the commissioning editor who I've worked with closely throughout this process, and she was getting in touch to introduce herself and to say that she'd seen some of my existing work. She'd seen the book I previously released called University and Chronic Illness, a Survival Guide. That was something that I'd done previously, and I'd done that independently. It wasn't through traditional publishing like this was. That was completely independently. And I had actually seen that members from JKP had been following me on social media. And yes, we set up a meeting. I got to introduce myself. We discussed some potential book ideas. At this point, I didn't want to assume anything. I of course didn't want to assume anything, but we discussed a couple of ideas and we settled on one which felt like the right one to pursue at this point in time. One thing you should know about me is, well, I've always been a writer. This is not a new thing. Writing has always been one of the things I love to do more than anything else, and I've always got 1,000,001 book ideas in my head, so coming up with the idea was not the difficult part. If anything, I've got an abundance of them. I feel like I just want to say at this point in time that with everything I do, I never want people to think that opportunities are just handed to me, because I work very hard. I've had my fair share of rejections like anybody else, and I never want anybody to think that this just comes easily. All of that said, this opportunity was pretty much handed to me. It was a complete out-of-body experience. I've pitched to publishers so many times, I've been rejected so many times, and I know from experience how hard it is to get into that world to start with. So the fact that somebody came to me is something that I'm still having a difficult time processing because it feels so unreal. So yeah, I feel like I just wanted to acknowledge that I know how lucky I am that all of this played out in the way that it did, because I know from experience that that's not how it usually goes, and it's definitely not something that I take for granted. The next step was she sent over a book proposal form. I filled that out. It was very thorough, so I did start to think about the planning at that point in time. Just about to hit send on my book proposal and chapter outline, and I feel a little bit nervous. It's the first bubble of nerves I've got in this whole thing, but done. And at this point, I still wasn't assuming anything. They could look at the proposal and they could hate it and think, oh no, you're all right, you carry on, we're not doing this. But then on the 7th of September 2022, I got the email saying they would like to go ahead and offer me a contract. And that was where the book deal started. And I can't even tell you how surreal it was to get that email. It honestly felt like somebody had just handed me one of my biggest dreams in the world. It was just unbelievable. But at this point in time, I was facing a bit of a dilemma, because I knew that in an ideal world, this contract had come to me, but I did feel like I wanted the support of an agent just to make sure that everything in the contract was as it should be. I had no reason to think otherwise, but just for my own peace of mind, I knew that having an agent would make this entire process a lot easier. Now, I have tried for a book agent in the past and I was unsuccessful. Nobody took me on. But between the time I did that and the time we're in now, I had done some work with a literary agent. I had given some feedback and insights on a proposal they were working on, and we'd kind of kept in touch, and she had let me know that I was on her radar. So when all of this happened, I thought I'm going to reach out to her. Again, not making any assumptions, but I'm going to see if she would be interested in signing me and becoming my agent. So that meeting took place. I don't think I got any clips of this. I had that meeting. I had 2 medical appointments on that day, but I knew that I needed to get it sorted quickly. So I had my medical appointment in the morning, and then I went to Waterstones Cafe in town. I did the meeting in there, and then I went to the other medical appointment. So it was very on brand all around. But we had a lovely conversation, and from that she agreed to sign me, and that's how I got my lit agent. Again, a bit of an unconventional path, but that seems to be one of the themes within this story. And the most valuable thing that my agent did at this point in time is they helped to negotiate the contract. They explained bits to me that I wasn't sure about, and she went back and she spoke directly with the publishers, and I won't go into specifics because that doesn't feel appropriate, but she got me a much better deal than I would have been able to get on my own. I can't believe I'm filming looking like this. I've got laundry in the background, it's all going on. But today is Thursday the 8th of December and I'm just about to sign my contract. I feel like I could cry. This means I have an agent and a book deal. I'm sat in my office in my dad's old jumper with no makeup on, everything, just having a normal morning, and one of my biggest dreams just came true. But I feel like maybe I should be celebrating or something, but it's 9:37 and I've got a medical appointment soon that I need to set off for. It's just a normal day. And true story for you, again another very on-brand occurrence. After that meeting I went to my appointment, and that was the day that I got a diagnosis confirmed of quite a rare neurovascular disorder. So in my head, it's a very memorable day for all kinds of reasons. It was all going on. Now, when we were thinking about the final book, which in my head was still a very hypothetical thing, we were originally aiming for a submission date for a completed manuscript for September 2023 to be published in September 2024. But after talking with my agent, she basically shared her insight, and she thought that September wasn't the right time to be publishing a book like I was doing, so she encouraged me to go for a different publishing date instead. So there was more discussion about that, and in my head I thought it would probably be wise to aim for sort of around May time, because in May, as most of you will know, just about every chronic illness awareness day under the sun falls in May, so I thought it might make sense to have a book out before then. And April is a popular time for publishing, so it made sense to go for that round instead of the September round, where my agent felt my book would have a less good chance of being seen and reaching the right people. So in theory that was a good idea and it made sense, and I still maintain that that was the right decision, but in practice what that meant that my writing time for writing the manuscript was halved. So I went from having an original deadline of September 2023 to a deadline of May 2023, and because of that I think it was a really good thing that I was writing this particular book, because I wrote it in only a few months, and we'll talk more about that. And I think if that information that I wanted to share wasn't so easily accessible in my brain from my own lived experiences, I think that would have been an incredibly difficult task. I would have done it because I would not have let this opportunity go. But now I'm going to pipe down in a minute and hand over to Past Pippa. But before I do that, I think this is the biggest jump in time, because from signing the contract, I had from January 2023 to May 2023 to write this book, and I didn't vlog the writing process, which I slightly regret now, but I'm sure you can imagine it was a lot. That was my priority, and I just wanted to do it and do it to my best ability rather than thinking about vlogging it as well and how to tell that side of the story. And the other thing that I'm just going to briefly mention here is this is one of the most incredible things that has ever happened to me, but all of this has happened during a time that's been very, very difficult for me and my family for reasons that I choose not to share online in a lot of detail. I was writing this book and absolutely genuinely loving that process and feeling so thankful to have that release and have that source of happiness in my life, but yeah, it was a very difficult time, and it is still a difficult time to this day. I know I don't owe an explanation, but if some of my reactions in the following clips seem a bit muted or I don't quite seem like myself, that's not a reflection on how grateful I am for this experience and how much I've enjoyed it. It's just a reflection of the wider circumstances. It's been a very weird time. There's been like the highest of highs and the lowest of lows, and that's difficult to recalibrate in the here and now, let alone with how you present that online. So I just thought I'd mention that here. I wrote a book. I can't believe it. I think I've just finished the first draft of my book, and when I say it's a very rough draft, it is a very, very, very rough draft. It's going to need a lot of editing. It's the beginning of April now, and I'm hoping I've got until the end of May to do some really thorough edits. There's also a big life change that's happening next week, so it's going to be quite challenging. Now that I've got this first draft, I feel much more equipped to make this happen. I feel really happy. I feel really relieved that I've just got it out. I've just started reading a little bit of the introduction back, and I think it's just starting to hit me that we actually did it. In case you're wondering, actually, the big life change that I talked about in that last clip was something really, really positive among the difficult stuff, and that was that my mum brought home a little puppy called Ruby, which was just the best thing ever. She's the best thing that could have happened to us at that point in time, and I would never wish that away for anything. But it did mean that I lost a further 2 weeks of writing to bringing Ruby home and helping her to settle in and just enjoying and being present in that moment, and I have zero regrets about that. Settling a puppy in was something that was so exhausting. It would be exhausting for any person, let alone managing an energy limiting condition, so there was no way that I could possibly think about writing alongside that. But a lot of this book was edited while I had a sleepy little puppy curled up on my knee, which is such a lovely way to be. I would highly recommend that to anybody. We're a few weeks away from my deadline. I'm going through the chapters one by one, and I'm doing in my head it's a final edit, but it's a first final edit. Today's the first, not the first, but today's an apparent time where I'm thinking, can I do it? So the usual pattern is I'll work in the morning when my cognitive function's at its best, and then every afternoon my brain just feels like mush. I'm hoping I'm going to wake up feeling a bit more positive tomorrow. It's Saturday the 6th of May. My voice is going more and more by the day, because when I go through each chapter and edit, I read it out loud to make sure that the words sound like they're in the right order and it flows okay. So I'm doing a lot of reading out loud. I'm doing a lot of speaking work at the minute. I did one in-person event yesterday, and I'm supposed to have 2 more this month, and I'm gonna have to cancel them because I can't do it. My throat is so sore. May is always a busy freelance month, and I'm very grateful for the work coming in because it has been quite a quiet start to the year. It just feels like everything's come at once. There is so much I need to do. I've done a bit more editing this morning of contributor submissions, which have also started coming in, and that's been wonderful. But I've got my face on because I need to go and do some filming. I'm trying to keep the overwhelm at bay. I had an email last thing yesterday on Friday with some potential book titles to kickstart that conversation, and that was really exciting as well. Already I'm having thoughts. I like the ones they've sent over, but I've also thought of a few of my own now. Book titles and book covers are not my strongest point, but I have got a few ideas that I'm going to go back and hopefully we can discuss further. But seeing the email was one of those moments where it was like, oh my gosh, this is actually happening. I've also just realised that I filmed those 2 clips. I haven't even got my lipstick on. I've got my lip liner on, but not my lipstick on, which I think tells you just about everything you need to know about my mental capabilities at this time. Okay, here's the thing I've realised. I didn't have any inspiration for titles whatsoever, but when my editor sent over her suggestions, it did prompt a few of my own, and I made a list and I whittled it down to a top 4. I didn't think I had a strong favourite, but I've been getting the opinions of other people, and I've put a poll up on my close friends Instagram story this morning. So it might all change because I haven't sent that over to the editor, or none of them have been approved by sales and marketing yet. But today is the 8th of May 2023, and I believe I want the title to be How to Do Life with a Chronic Illness. These clips just keep getting more and more attractive, don't they? I've not even bothered to dry my hair this time, but we're cracking on. I think I'm almost there. The main things that aren't done at the minute are things I'm waiting on from other people, and I'm putting all of my trust in the fact that they're not going to let me down. They won't let me down. I have started stitching together the whole book. Before now, the chapters were all in separate Word documents, but I am very, very worried about my word count. When I set the word count, I thought it would be more than enough, but I quickly realised through writing the book that I could have easily done another 10k words, just to clarify. So all the content is basically written. I've just got a final little bits checklist that I've been writing down as I go through, and I've started adding up the word count of the bits that aren't in, so I can take it off my total word count. So with this document that I'm pasting together at the minute, it kind of needs to be around 48,385 words. So this is currently 48,443 words. So I can work with that, she says. No, yeah, I can work with that. I'm going to go and work with that now. I wrote a book. Oh my god. It's Saturday the 13th of May, and I have just compiled what will be the final draft. I'm going to go through it once more next week while I've got time, and I'm going to make some final edits. I've just been crying writing the acknowledgements. It's done, nearly. It's done. I can't believe it. I actually can't believe it. So I got that first draft completed. I was so happy and so chuffed, and that was the night that the Eurovision was on in the UK. So I went to my friend's house to watch that with a group of friends, and I was all intent to really celebrate, really enjoy that time, and I lost consciousness twice that night. I'm still not sure why. Nothing alcohol related or anything like that. I just had this really funny term and I ended up fainting twice. I managed to talk my way out of an ambulance and a visit to A&E, but yeah, so I was unconscious, not very well, and I still managed to win the sweepstake, so I am chuffed about that. That is one of my greatest accomplishments to date, let alone that book. Winning the Eurovision sweepstake while not fully conscious is definitely up there in life achievements. It's Thursday the 18th of May, and it's going. Oh, I'm gonna do it. I'm just gonna do it. I've done it. Hello, it's been a little while. Something happened that I forgot to update you on in real time, so I'm doing it now. This email came on the 8th of June. I got a title provisionally signed off, and that is How to Do Life with a Chronic Illness. But the point that the sales and marketing team raised was a really good one, in that it probably needs a subtitle so that people who are looking at the book have a better idea of what it's about and what it contains. So they came back to me with a subtitle in mind, but I wasn't quite sure about the subtitle. So I think what we've settled on, that has now gone back to sales and marketing for final sign off, is How to Do Life with a Chronic Illness, and the subtitle is Reclaim Your Identity, Create Independence and Find Your Way Forward. I'm not a very visual person, so a book cover was always something I was going to struggle with. It's something I struggled with my last one. I know what I like and I know what I don't like, but I wouldn't be able to word it until I'd seen it. She sent me a few examples to look through, and from that I was able to pick out what I liked and what I didn't like. She has put together a brief for the cover design, and I think that's what's happening next, which is so exciting. So where I'm at now, I'm waiting for the title and cover design to come back with further thoughts. I am waiting for the manuscript to come back with copy edits, which is so scary but so exciting. And I'm also in the process of filling out an author questionnaire, which is kind of going into sort of the sales and the marketing angle, more information about me, my background, the kind of places where I would ideally like the book to be reviewed, any contacts I've got in those areas. It's just been a really thorough process so far, which I really appreciate because it's so different to what I had last time. So all good things, and things are moving forward. You'll have to excuse what I look like right now. I've had a long day and I've just had an allergic reaction, but I've just checked my emails and I've got draft cover designs that I didn't know were coming, and I really like them, which I wasn't expecting. Oh my god. And I had to psych myself up to click on the attachments, and I had to kind of say to myself, it's okay if you don't like them at this stage. This is only literally the first draft. But for a first draft, I actually really like it. 2 colour options. I really like the second one. That feels big. I can't believe that's just happened. But the thing I'm doing now is unexpectedly the most challenging bit of the whole process so far. I have lots of different contributors in the book because it's always really important to me to share lived experiences that are different from my own and get some more diverse viewpoints. So I've got a fair few contributors in this book, and my current task is to obtain permission forms for all of these contributors, which is essentially them signing to say, I'm happy with the quote that's been provided, I'm happy with how I'm being credited, and I'm happy for this to go ahead in the final book. All of which I've obtained informally beforehand, of course, but this is just kind of like the official bit so that it's documented that they're happy to go ahead. And for some reason, this form just absolutely baffled me. I could not get my head around it. I don't know if this is like, well, it is a me problem. I'm really struggling with forms at the minute, which is quite a new experience for me, but I just could not fathom what I was supposed to be filling in, what they were supposed to be filling in. I just couldn't get my head around it, but luckily there's a really lovely editorial assistant who's working on this book, and she's been very patient with my questions and she's explained it all to me, so at least I know what I'm doing now. I've got this camera very strategically placed so you can't see my laundry that's drying here and you can't see the mess in the kitchen over there. I haven't been doing updates in real time for a little while, and at first I couldn't figure out why I was procrastinating it, but now that I've sat with it a little bit, I think it's kind of because the more real this all seems to get, the less real it feels to me. The book is moving into production and I've been briefed about what all the next stages are and what happens from here, how the copy edits work. Got a new provisional release date, which I think I mentioned. Something that I didn't mention in these clips, so I will do it now, is that around this time I found out the publishing date and I'd got the month that I wanted. I'd got April, and they came back to me and they said our proposed publishing date is the 18th of April 2024, and as soon as I saw that, it took my breath away because that will be the 2nd anniversary of the day my dad died. So obviously my initial reaction was absolutely not. There's no way I'm going to publish it on that day. That doesn't feel right. But then I sat with it for a bit and I talked to my mum. About it as well. And I think not everybody will understand this, but the number 18 has a really weird significance in my family. It's bizarre, and it's not just like a self-fulfilling prophecy, it's just that the number 18 crops up everywhere. Feels like a really significant number in my family. My mum kind of said to me, if your dad was here, you know exactly what he would say, and I was like, yeah, I do. So instead of seeing this as like an, oh my goodness, what are the chances of a clash like that, I'm instead choosing to see it as, this is a really significant sign and I'm going to run with it. And even just in sitting here and talking about this now, there's a part of me that's worrying that people will think that I'm heartless for that decision, or that I care less than I do about that day and what it signifies. It just feels right. I don't know how else to describe it. It just feels so right, even given the context. It feels like this is the way it was meant to be. So I'm confident and I'm at peace with that decision, and my family is, and I know that my dad would be too. Yeah, there was just a moment last week, and I might not even include this, but I was having all of these bookish conversations over email, and then I was having meetings with my literary agent about other things, and I just had a moment and I thought, oh my god, I am living one of my biggest dreams. Like, this has been something that I've wanted so badly for such a long time, but it was in that moment where I kind of actually realised, like, how did we get here? And just this whole thing, and even documenting it, is proving challenging in some respects, because on the one hand there's this really incredible thing that's happening that's bringing me so much fulfillment and making me so excited for what's to come, and yet all of this has happened during a time that has truthfully been one of the most difficult times of my life. The last couple of years there's been so much that's happened that I can't even, like, I'll never be able to share online, not even allude to it, and nobody will ever see that. and on that one side of my life all of these really awful, terrible things are happening, and then on this side, work-wise, all of these incredible things are happening, and it's such an up and down thing, and me as a person, I don't always do well with the up and down. I think that's maybe why I'm struggling with it a little bit. I was initially a little bit resentful. Oh, that's my neighbour, hang on. I remember resenting at one point that this wonderful thing was happening at a time when I couldn't really fully indulge and be just truly excited about it. But then I thought, what a silly thing to wish that you had any control over the time, or like resent that something like this was even happening, because the fact this is happening at all is still something that I'm struggling to wrap my head around, because it's just the most incredible thing. And even if it is happening in the context of a lot of difficult stuff, I should just have so much gratitude that it's happening at all. And as I've had that thought, it's been easier to actually feel that and experience it. Hello, it's the 22nd of August today. We've had another significant development in that my copy edits have just come back. I've not clicked on them yet because I can't prioritise it right now. I think my plan is to get the rest of my charity sector hours done for the week, and then I'll have Thursday, Friday, the weekend if I need it, just to focus on this, because I know what I'm like. If I try and do everything at once, I do less of a good job at everything, so nobody wins by doing that. I submitted my manuscript. It's been looked over once by the commissioning editor just to check we were on the same page about things, which we were. That then went to a copy editor, and the edits from that read through are now coming back to me, so I can look at those edits, make any necessary changes, highlight any issues. Yeah, my deadline is Friday the 1st of September, so to me that seems like plenty of time. I've got over a week, and I think that probably might not seem like a lot of time to some people, but I think because of my past experience, which I don't think I ever talked about, I had a not very good experience self-publishing last time, and it was often the case that I'd not know that anything was coming, and then last thing on a Friday I'd get an email saying we need this by first thing on Monday, and that was very unsustainable. That was not very chronic illness friendly, so this by comparison feels quite luxurious. Just in case anyone's interested, I've just opened up the copy edit doc, and instead of making the changes on the manuscript, in the column underneath my hand are all the things that the copy editors have flagged, and then this blank space next to each one is where I can reply or amend or give my own feedback. And I actually really like this way of doing it. On my last one, I was making lots of edits to a manuscript, and I was always terrified that I was going to send the wrong version back, so I really like that you do it on a separate document rather than in the manuscript itself, and it's made me really excited to get started actually. Okay, it's a couple of days later, and I can't believe I'm saying this, but I've done the copy edits. It only took 2 hours, which is just so not what I was expecting. I think because it was just so clearly laid out and stuff. I'll spare you seeing what my face looks like today, but I'm so pleased. I'm just about to send that back now, and I'm also sending over my dedication and acknowledgements, which feels quite scary. It is very gloomy outside, and I have just made some edits to the advanced title information sheet. This is just sort of the copy that's going to be used for places on Amazon where the book is advertised and just stuff like that. It's point of reference, so there's a keynote, a long blurb, a short blurb, and the author bio, and then some other stuff that's for the publisher's benefit. It's been a little while since I updated this video. I've just come to the end of something that was a tiny bit challenging, but that's been resolved in a really positive way. I don't know why I can't speak today. I can't remember if I mentioned this yet, but we started working through the advanced marketing copy for the book, and I did make some changes and suggestions to that, and I think we went back and forth twice about the blurbs, and I'm actually really proud of myself for pushing back on something that I wasn't 100% happy with. That doesn't always feel like the easiest thing for me to do, but when you're thinking that this is the stuff that's going to go on the back of a book that has your name on it, it does feel a lot easier. So even when we got to something that looked like a final version and I wasn't 100% happy, I did do a final edit and I sent it back. And just now, 5 minutes ago, I've got the feedback that it's great and the change has been made and it's all done and dusted. I actually feel like I could cry. It's Wednesday the 25th of October and I've just found out that there's going to be an audiobook. That was never a guarantee, and that was something that was something I really wanted, because I know that audiobooks are sometimes the only way that people with chronic illness can consume books, and I thought it was such a slim chance of happening, and I don't have any more details at this stage, just confirmation that they would like to do an audiobook, and I am absolutely over the moon right now. It's been a really difficult couple of weeks, and that's just Oh god, that's just the best news. I'm so pleased. It's a few days later, but around the same time that I got that news about the audiobook, I got my next round of copy edits through. But this version has all of the previous edits, and quite excitingly, it also has some of the artwork and design elements in it as well. So you can get a slightly better idea of what the layout is going to look like. I am going to query the use of drop caps. Some people have issues comprehending the text when there's elements like this, so I think I am going to have a discussion about that and maybe query whether we can change that. But at the end of each chapter, we've got the journal prompts, which is wild. It feels like a real book. And I don't know whether I'll have the guts to leave this in, but it's been a while since I last read the manuscript of my book. I've been working on other projects and I'd got it into my head. I'm having a bit of a not ideal time at the minute. I'm having a slight identity crisis. My self-esteem isn't the best it's ever been, I'm going to be honest about it. And I've been thinking to myself, I bet my book's not even that good. I bet it's rubbish. I bet it's nothing. I don't deserve this. Why have I got this opportunity? This is so silly. But having read it this morning, I actually had a moment where I felt quite proud of it. I read it back and I was like, do you know what? I'm actually really proud of what I've done here. I really like it. It's better on reading it with fresh eyes than it was when I was constantly editing it. And yeah, I feel really happy with what I've done, and I really hope other people feel a similar way when they read it. Oh, we've hit a big milestone today. I've finally got signed permission forms for all of the contributors in my book. That probably doesn't even sound like a big deal, but there's a lot of contributors in there, and everybody obviously has consented to their stuff being included in the book. But that all got done, and then at a later point in time, I had to get everybody to sign and return a permission form. And that has been going on for 6 months. So to put that into context, it's taken 2 months longer to get these forms returned than it took me to write the entire book. It's been an ordeal. I'm obviously really grateful to have everyone involved, and I'm obviously showing empathy because everyone's situation is different. Everyone's got stuff going on, but I genuinely think getting all of these permission forms signed and returned has been harder than writing the book. I'm glad it's done. I'm glad I've got the brilliant people involved, and lessons have been learned for the future. Hello, it's been a little while since I last updated you. What's new? But I thought, in case it's of any interest, I've got the second round of copy edits back, but I thought I would show you some of the things as they look now and tell you what I changed and why. So like I said, I've got this digital version of what the book will look like in print. I've had 2 iterations of this now, and this is the most recent one. One change that hasn't actually made it in yet but will happen is that there are some links in the book. People who are reading this as an ebook will be able to click directly on these. But in the print version, I'm also going to have a QR code which you can scan. I've used this a couple of other times throughout the book because I've got videos on my YouTube channel that go really nicely with the content. So there will be QR codes that somebody can scan if they want to be taken directly to that page without having to try and type out a link if they can't click on it. Before this version, there were drop caps at the beginning of each chapter, and they were much bigger than this. So we discussed what we could do to make sure there was still something there that kind of added a little bit of a design element but wasn't quite as cognitively challenging to take in. And then in most of the chapters I have at least one contribution from somebody else, somebody who's either a subject expert or they've got lived experiences that are different from my own. On the original version they were on a plain background but they had a line going down here, but then I read Charlie Clement's book, which is coming out from the same publisher. It's called All Tangled Up and it's about autism and chronic illness, but one of the things they had done in their book was have their contributors on this shaded background, and I thought that it really made it stand out and it made it a bit easier to comprehend when there was that change in narrative and a different voice. So I asked whether I could do something similar for mine, and this is what they came back with, and I like this much better. I think it makes it much clearer. I've got a couple of these resource lists scattered throughout the book, and I found I had more space in the text box than I thought I had, so I could add a few more people on. Narrowing down a list when there's so many brilliant chronically ill people doing stuff like this was not an easy task, so I'm very glad I got to include a few more of those now. Oh, here's one of the examples of the QR codes that you can scan. So if you've got a physical copy of the book, you will just be able to scan this. This one will take you to a video on my YouTube channel about making a personal survival budget if you're thinking about living independently. And there's like a free template you can download and all stuff like that. I've got different elements in different fonts wherever possible. So that's an example letter if somebody's new to self-advocacy. And I think that's it. I know they might only seem small to some people, but sometimes it's the little things like that that can really make a difference to a person's experience of reading, especially when someone's dealing with chronic illness and the kind of cognitive fatigue and the cognitive challenges that come with that. I've probably said this before, but I'm not really a visual person, so like the design elements and how it looks and the typeset and the cover, that's not really stuff that I'm necessarily thinking about that much while I'm writing. So I'm so grateful that they've been so accommodating. Like, they came back and even the first draft was great and I was really happy with it, but the fact I've been able to go back and say, oh, could we tweak this, could we try this, and they've been like, yep. I know that isn't the experience that everybody has, so I feel really grateful to have had that, and I'm really pleased with how it's looking. I'm filming this in December, so 5 months, 5 months to the day until it's out in the world. Oh my god. It's 2024, today is the 8th of January, and we have just signed off the back cover of my book, and we're also having some endorsements in the front cover now. And I didn't document it at the time that I read the endorsements and I read the early media reviews, but I think it was probably one of the most incredible, surreal moments of my life. I'm trying to sit here trying to describe how it felt to read those positive reviews of my book, and I don't have the words. I really don't. It means everything. It was just, it was the best thing ever. I've seen the reviews, there's a couple on the back cover, we've got the page of endorsements, and they're signed off now, and that's going into production as well. There's a few of them on the Waterstones page for the book as well. I have looked at this a few times now, I'm not gonna lie, but it still doesn't feel real. It's the 7th of Feb today. I have the go-ahead to announce my book and do the cover reveal on the 19th of Feb, so that's going to come around really soon, I think. But as of now, it's just little things that keep like catching me off guard and getting me excited, and I'm going to show you one of them. Like, I've just been doing my emails and I was talking to my agent, so my agency rather than the publishers, and at the bottom I just spotted this as their footer and I thought, oh my god, it's me! For so long I've been so excited for the day that I finally get to share this news on Instagram and I get to tell people, and I know I will enjoy it, but I don't know, the online world seems even more hostile than usual at the minute. It seems quite volatile, so I don't know. I think that's the reason why part of me is feeling a bit worried about it. If this is what I think it is, I'm about to actually lose my mind. At the minute it's Schrodinger's box. I've not opened it. I'm not gonna open it because, to be transparent, I'm in a really bad mood and I feel really ill, and it's just, life is a bit hard at the minute, so I'm gonna wait until tomorrow until I'm in a better state of mind, but I did not know that was coming. And if that's what I think it is, that's a very, 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 very exciting thing. Look what I've got! Oh my goodness. It feels weird to be holding it in my hands. It kind of solidified that it actually is a thing that happened. I've been talking this morning about audiobook arrangements and it's just all becoming very, very real now. Absolute madness. Completely surreal. And it's going to look great on my yellow bookshelf, most importantly. I do love a yellow book, you all know this by now. We originally tried the bits that are orange in pink, and I did really like that as well, but I did want this to kind of be not female coded. I wanted to keep it as gender neutral as possible and inclusive of all genders. And the pattern on the back, I said I don't want it too loud and too brash because obviously people with chronic illnesses have very sensitive brains, so I didn't want it to be too confronting and too in your face. But we've just got this very subtle path sort of design in the background, and that's to represent the fact that life with chronic illness seems to be anything but linear, and it's all about finding a path that works for you rather than doing what the world might expect of you. And then on the back we've got testimonials, which to this day, it still feels like one of the most surreal things that people have read this book and said nice things about it. We've got the blurb, and then I've got my photo down here and my little bio. And I love the spine as well. I think the spine is one of my favourite bits actually. The day I'm filming this is the day before I announced the book on social media. I have already done a couple of podcast interviews, so I feel like the ball is rolling already, but oh my gosh, tomorrow it's going to be more public knowledge that this book exists. It's almost like my brain is stopping me from being too happy and too excited just in case anything happens, and I don't know what would, and I'm sure I'm just worrying over nothing, or at least I hope I am, but it's almost like my brain is stopping me from going to that higher level just to protect myself a bit better if there's a fall. I just really hope people like it. I hope it adds value to people's lives. That is the main thing. I wanted stuff that would be practical and helpful and help people to feel a bit more like themselves, and to know that that knowledge was coming from somebody who really does get it. Writing has always been one of the things I love more than anything in the world. I always hoped that writing would be a part of my life, and I'm so grateful that it's become a part of my job. And then to have this opportunity to break into traditional publishing, which I never in a million years thought would be possible for me once I acquired my chronic illness. So to be doing this, writing a book about chronic illness for people with chronic illnesses, it's almost beyond my wildest dreams, and I'm just so grateful that this has happened. So like I said, you can pre-order a copy of the book now ahead of the release in April. I will leave links to different retailers down below. Pre-orders are really important, I'm told, so any pre-orders would be so gratefully received, and feel free to spread the word, pass it on to anybody who might be interested in a book like this. That would be amazing as well. I really hope you love it. I really hope you get a lot of value out of it, but if there is anything that you're interested in or you'd like to hear more about in the future, I'd be more than happy to share that information. I know that writing is something that a lot of people want to do, and other people with chronic illnesses like me might feel like they're shut out from that world, and though I can't claim to be an expert given my one experience of this, if there is anything helpful I can share, I'm more than happy to do that. Thank you so much as always for watching. I really appreciate it. You can subscribe if you want to see future videos, and I'll see you next time.